Hello, beautiful, and welcome to the Finding Fertility podcast. I'm Monica, your mentor in uncovering the hidden layers of your fertility journey. Together, we'll discover the right path for you within the 6 essential steps to creating the family of your dreams. We'll ditch the overwhelm, tune into your intuition, and build a vibrant foundation for your fertility. Whether it's through gut health, subconscious healing, or energetic alignment, you can unlock your body's natural power to get and stay pregnant. Your fertility journey is all about radical responsibility and deeply believing that your body is on your side. It's time to stay consistent, embrace trust, surrender, and create the transformation you deserve. Finding Fertility does not diagnose, prescribe, or treat any fertility issues. What we do is empower you to take control of your health by uncovering the root causes holding you back. Let's do this together. Happy Friday. Welcome back to another episode of Finding Fertility. I'm your host, Monica Cox, and I am so honored you are here with me, becoming the conscious mama you were born to be. Today, we have the second half of Katie's interview, who is a medical intuitive. You guys know I love this stuff, and it is the next layer of our journey when we are doing everything physically right, getting into that energy, getting into the energetics, the frequency, connection. It just brings this like magic to your journey because we're not stressing over things anymore. We're just going with flow to the best of our abilities. So without further ado, let's get to today's episode. So what are a few techniques that you help your clients really tap into that intuition and gain that ability to connect with, either a spirit baby or maybe even someone like a grandparent or a parent that they would like to receive support and guidance from?
Definitely. So, and this is all detailed in my book. And
Which is
this
called, let's not brush
which is
over that. What is your book called?
Heal from Within, a guidebook to intuitive wellness. And it's my story. It's kind of taking people through how I do a reading. And there's charts and exercises, and it's kind of, there's a lot of visual stuff in there. Some people get the audio and the actual book, but there's a lot of, a lot of activities. That it's identifying the things that you need to work on, identifying strengths, and then really getting into in detail how to address them, how to connect to intuition, all sorts of other things. And there's a heavy emphasis on Jungian psychology in there too. So art stuff and symbolism and things. So
Yeah.
yeah. So this technique I learned when I was 16. I've modified it some, still do it. And the idea is that intuition or your guides are an all-knowing force connected to unconditional love. It's like having a best friend with you, somebody that knows everything about you. And the more that you get what you need from this source, the less important it is what other people are doing and saying and thinking. So it helps set boundaries and makes you more secure in who you are. So that's kind of the underlying premise. And the technique is to physically write out a question or your thoughts or feelings and direct it to either whatever you call your intuition, that person in spirit, the spirit baby. You can talk to your pets, you can talk to your body, any of those things using this technique. So you write out your stuff, and I'll give you some examples. And then whatever you hear or feel, write that down, and then write back to it. And then whatever you get, write that down and write back to it. So you're having an actual written conversation. Mm-hmm. And what that does, you have to stop what you're doing to write. So it kind of calms down a lot of the distraction, calms your nervous system. It makes you very present. It's kind of like a mindfulness meditation as a nice side effect to all the information that you get. And you can, sometimes I just say, do you have anything to tell me? Because again, we have our agendas. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we need to get out of our way and just listen and see what comes to us. And I also, ask things about why is this happening right now? What can I learn from it? What are some steps I need to take to address some of these things? Literally anything, what do I need to do to be more authentic? How can I set boundaries? I mean, there's no limit to the questions or things you can bring up. Sometimes I just start writing and just word and see what I get. So you can do it for 5 minutes, 20 minutes, but it really, really, really is a game changer. It literally saved my life.
Yeah, no, definitely. For all the type A women out there, I can hear them screaming right now, like, what do you mean I have to just listen? um, Here's the
Yeah.
thing. Most of us haven't been trained to even, I mean, I had a client once that literally could not sit with herself for 5 minutes, right? She had to be reading a book, looking on her phone, talking. A lot of women, okay, don't turn off the podcast right now, but they'll do their walking with their just consume, 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 right? And it's the hardest thing for them to just listen. So
So
what is a trick that
yes, yes.
or not a trick, like I have something, but I want to let you go first of what they can do to handle that.
Okay.
Handle that
So
5 minutes of silence.
yeah, right, right. So for me, it's a mindset. You, especially if you've been through trauma, have been through a life where you haven't had control, things like that, right? Control is a survival mechanism. So, but it doesn't always serve us. So the way I like to think about it is I am always here. Control is an option. Any actions I need to take are always an option. But when I start to go overboard and hijack a situation or hijack my life, then anxiety and control just take over. So I like to think of spirit, intuition, whatever, as an all knowing friend, a best friend who can come in and say, you know what? You don't have to take this all on yourself. You don't have to be in control of this. We're here to help you. We're team members. And if you let us, we can give you ideas of things that will help you solve this problem or help you calm down or help you address whatever it is that you're control freaking out about. But let us be part of your team. If you need to step in and take over, you can. So you're not relinquishing anything. You're actually gaining a lot more power and control of the situation.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's so good just to keep reminding yourself and, going back to the nervous system, if you want to try this technique out and you struggle, you're just sitting with yourself and your nervous system and feeling that like, that anxiety of like, I'm not doing anything. I need to be doing deep breath work or yoga or, something like that, which are supportive, they're still important.
Absolutely.
That your nervous system needs to feel safe by not doing anything, and that's a really, really big thing for a lot of women in this society, is that we just don't even feel safe by sitting on the couch, which is crazy. And hands up, both hands up, right? So just getting real with yourself and being radically honest and saying, how am I showing up to this activity in the first place? If I can't do it, or if I'm struggling to do it, let me take a step back and see what I can realize about myself. And that's still using your guides. That's
Exactly.
still tapping
Yeah.
into that, but it might not feel as pressured.
And also, whatever comes to you, let it come.
Yeah.
Like if you get something that doesn't relate at all to what you wrote about, that
Yeah.
is totally okay. Just you
Yes.
needed to hear that other thing,
Exactly.
or a lot of people are afraid to listen because they're afraid of scary information. Like, guess what? You need to change this, or you need to set this boundary, or you need to get out of this job, or you need to leave your partner or whatever, right? So we push that down. So instead, allow the scary stuff and then talk back to it. Why does this scare me? What can you do to, support me? What are some steps I can take? Or even on that day, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But I promise to check in with you in a couple of days and revisit this. But, just kind of, it doesn't want to control you.
Yes.
It wants you to be part of this process and wants to enhance your life.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a really interesting point of like us controlling the situation where the deep surrender and people are like, you keep talking about surrender. What is it? It's like, well, let's talk about letting go of control first before we can move into that surrender and where the magic happens with connection to source, to babies, to anything, even to your higher self. When you're coming up to a really big decision, instead of getting the checklist out and the pros and cons, sit with yourself for 10 minutes. How does it feel in your body moving into that situation? Because that's going to be more information than it costs this. I have to do this. I have to show up this. And then, how do you feel? And most people don't realize that you can it's probably 100% accurate once you fine tune it, once you really get into that. Because I always get, well, I thought I followed my intuition and it didn't work out. Well, then that means that was something you needed to go through to release something else, or I don't believe that there's lessons, right? It drives me crazy when people are like, well, you needed to learn that lesson. It's just like, that's not that, no, we like, if we look at life as lessons, then we're going to want to quit because it feels like a lesson after a lesson. It's just more information. And you get to choose. You have that choice. What information do you want to take from it? Do you want to say, well, that was just random? That was just part of it. I don't need to go in deep dive. I don't need to do that. Or sometimes you'll look and go, okay, I'm going to be radically honest. I thought I followed my intuition. This is what came out of it. Oh, look at what lesson I just learned, or look at what tools that I can now have from that experience.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with everything you said. And I think a lot of the, I'll put it in quotes, but negative things that happen to us, our intuition presented us with choices, and we chose not to take that route.
Mhm.
And so sometimes you do have to hear the same thing over and over again, or be injured many times to learn that, yes, you have to actually rest when your body tells you to rest. Or, we don't want to get you into a car accident or hit you over the head with a sledgehammer. We'd like you to listen earlier, like when you just have a little stomach ache,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, the way that we have been programmed, I always say it has to get pretty uncomfortable in your life to make those radical changes, because you think you're gonna just get out of jail free, right? Like, oh, that's not a big thing. I'll just keep going. Oh, I'm gonna push through it. No, and it's all the patterning behind what's going on, right? It's not because you're broken. It's not because you're dumb. It's not because you don't listen. There is the subconscious mind is so powerful. And if it's not programmed in the right way, it could be your lead to some demise. And that is where you get to step in and say, okay, enough is enough. I know when I hit like when I was around 41, I've dabbled in all modalities, and I was doing the human design, and one of my like lines was, you like to learn through lessons. And I was like, no, I'm done with that. I'm not going to identify. I don't care if it's in my chart. I I am done learning lessons. I'm going to be a quick learner. Okay, I might have to learn it once, but I'm not going to go through it 5 times anymore. And that was definitely a repeating pattern for me. So once you have that knowledge of like, nothing defines you, all these modalities that can give you insight into who you are. I truly believe, okay, get that insight. And if you don't like it, change it. Like, I did not want to be line 3 anymore where I learned through lessons. Like, no, thank you.
it's very true. We have a lot more control than we realize, but I think we're also very afraid of that control. And we want to make decisions. We don't like being told what to do, but then we're really afraid of being wrong,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
And so it's just to be aware of that about ourselves. Sometimes my husband will be like, you're the biggest control freak I know who hates to make decisions. And we're scared to that sometimes.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
feel like it. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
it's nice to be
exactly.
like what we watch on TV right now, whatever the thing is. So, hey, you know, I own my stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't like that stuff anymore, you can change it, right? It is really
Exactly.
just tapping into those powers and that belief system of, I always say your consistent action creates your evidence. So if you have no proof of it now, but you want to get there, just take the actions to get there, reprogram that subconscious mind, show up for yourself differently. Um, Make sure you're checking your energy field of who's around you, right? The
Oh
basic
my gosh, yes.
101.
Oh my God.
And people don't realize how much that actually impacts their life. Especially when you're going through a fertility journey and you have, negative Nancy's all around you, it's going to be really hard to bring yourself up if you're getting drawn back and into drama, family drama, friends drama, work drama,
Right.
really putting that separation to be able to stand in this new frequency that isn't quite there yet for you, but you want it to be there. It is taking that radical responsibility around your whole life. And like we said in the beginning, it's really going to impact how you move through the rest of your fertility journey, your pregnancy, your postpartum, and raising your children. I cannot stress enough, and it's so hard to articulate until you go through it yourself. Your children are going to bring you this level of joy that is unmatched, but they also are going to bring you the same level of discomfort and whatever you got going in the background and amplify it until you transmute
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
that,
And if you don't learn, I'm sorry,
no,
sorry.
go ahead.
If you don't learn to put them first, and I don't mean at the expense of yourself,
Mhm.
but I do mean you have to push aside what your parents think or in-laws or any of that other stuff. That child needs to come first.
Mhm.
And if you cannot do that, then that is something you may really, really need to work on before that child is ready to come in.
Yeah, I mean, that is a sticky conversation over in motherhood, parenthood land of, yes, not as a sacrifice, but I don't think people realize what they're actually doing with motherhood and fatherhood is stewarding another soul through this. And as the human experience, that first, let's even say 8 to 14 years are just crucial to how they're going to be a contributing member to society. And we're not talking about, raising Ivy League scholars or like super success. We're talking about happiness and joy and doing
Decent
what
people.
they love. Yes, like just not getting sucked into the drama that is around them and having that confidence and love inside of them that they can then give out to the world and have that ripple effect. But everything you're doing now, down to your mitochondria, right? Epigenetics threw me
Mm-hmm.
into staying with what I learned about the physical body because it has an effect on your child before your child even becomes the clump of cells from the egg and the sperm. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then moving into the energetics, as I found out later in life, like start clearing as much as you can before the baby comes because it is harder. It is harder to do when you're sleep deprived, when you have someone else to take care of, when maybe you have to work and be a mom, like it is just you have the space. If you don't have any children right now, you have 100 times more space. You really do start bringing in other aspects like, oh, I wish I could do this, but no, I'm going to show up for my kid because I chose to
Yeah.
have this kid. And,
Yeah.
I do need to make time and space for me. But right now, in the thick of it, you capitalize on that space. Or even if you
Yeah. No.
have one or two children and you want to bring a third or a fourth in, capitalize on the space you have now.
Yeah, it's true. And parenting, I always like to say parenting is only hard if you're doing it right.
Yes.
And that you have to a lot of tough decisions. Like I had to, set limits with my parents or in-laws or things like that, that maybe I wouldn't have been as motivated to do because it didn't really matter as much. But when it came to treating my kid that way, it was like, oh no, we're definitely not, no. So it is hard and it takes a lot of strength and yeah, not to be entered into lightly.
Yeah. And, I say when you're doing these things on a physical and an emotional level, it just makes that time after, quote unquote, infertility so much more joyful. You are patterning right now the way you were patterning before you even entered into a fertility journey. If you don't make some radical changes there, you are going to pattern the exact same way during your pregnancy and postpartum into motherhood until you hit that wall, because that's how the body works. It doesn't matter if you're getting stressors from environment, your diet, or from, the emotions and the trauma and all that. You will hit a wall. And that's why secondary infertility is massively on a rise, is because we are just hitting more walls quicker. Technically, with hindsight, I was probably infertile at like 17, right? And I didn't try to conceive until I was 27, which is still radically young.
Right, right.
So we're seeing these things a lot earlier because of the genetics. It's just caught up with us. The emotional
Right. Yeah.
trauma from
Hormones,
centuries and, all that. And then the environment, right? So
big time,
I know it's
big
hard
time.
to
Yeah. And this,
hear. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, this is not to place blame.
Oh,
You aren't
no.
doing anything wrong. You're not a bad person. You're not, this is not like I'm so perfect and I did all this stuff and now I can tell you what to do. Oh dear God, no.
No.
It's just kind of part of I believe that life, God, whatever you want to call it, really wants us to be happy and wants us to be authentic and do our work here and raise other beings that we can encourage to be happy and do their stuff and be authentic here. So to me, it's just part of that process.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. Like it does make you happier in the end.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It is, when you're in the thick of it and you're just willing to show up for yourself every single day. And even if that just means getting out of bed and presenting yourself to the world, in a slightly more joyful way than you might be feeling,
Right.
or, being radically selfish, taking that,
Mhm.
setting boundaries, saying no, taking time off of work to relax. And, if you're going into a procedure, I know, like, I look back at my first IVF and I was like, what was I even thinking? Working like a 40 to 50 hour work week, traveling an hour and a half to this clinic. Like, no wonder my body was like, absolutely not, and I just didn't honor. I was like, well, I could do it. I could do it. I could do it. Right.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So just
it's
really
true.
honoring yourself. And I am, some final thoughts from you. I always say that your baby is looking down on you. That soul is with you. It is watching you. It's rooting for you. And it's encouraging you to become that conscious mama you were born to be. So when you're moving through life, take a breath and say, is this how my baby wants to come in? I'm really stressed out. I hate X, Y, and Z. Is this what I want? Is this what they want? And when you can get radically honest, you can maybe start making some different moves.
I love that. And the other thing I'm hearing connected to that is remember that they are coming here to be your teacher too.
Mm.
And are you ready to be open to what they have to say and their thoughts? Because they are honest as hell. And
Yes.
I mean, dear God. So are you ready to hear that, to look at yourself, to be like, yeah, my child is right. I really just screwed that up and I need to say I'm sorry or I need to do it differently. And especially now, they're just so wise. We learned so much from our two grown adult children, but we always said, God, they're far smarter than we were at that age
Yes,
and smarter than we are
absolutely.
now. So, I think that's also a huge part of it.
Yeah, you're 100% true. Um, It was so beautiful talking with you. Thank you so much for coming on. Please let our listeners know where they can find you.
Certainly. So the easiest place is my website. It's just katiebeecher.com. Very, very simple. I'm on Instagram and all the other things, Katie Beecher Medical Intuitive, but you can get to all that through my website. And the book is wherever books are sold, and there's an Amazon link on my website too. But yeah, I'd love to hear from people.
Yeah, perfect. I'll put all those links down in the show notes. And once again, thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you once again for tuning in and becoming the conscious mama you were born to be. Remember, I wasn't some magical unicorn who stumbled into fertility success. I stayed consistent, I put in the work, and I made it happen. And guess what? You can too. And I have something for my loyal podcast listeners, but here's the key. This is only for women who are feeling burnt out, frustrated, and stuck in the cycle of endless research. And you're at a point where you are screaming, I have tried everything. Why isn't this working? This only works for women who are ready to take a radical responsibility for their journey and start listening to their body's innate wisdom. Because deep down, you know you can heal and achieve your ultimate goal. If that's not you yet, that's okay. Not everyone is ready yet to show up with ease, deeply connect to their energy, unlock subconscious patterns, and listen to their body's ability to come into full coherence. But for those who are ready, I'm offering something I only do with my paying clients, and this is a fertility breakthrough session. This is the first thing I do, even before I start really deeply working with someone in a coaching package. It's a deep dive session where we look at exactly where you are right now, what's keeping you stuck, and the easy shifts that can change everything. But fair warning, these sessions are very limited and go fast. So if you're interested in checking out my superpower for uncovering exactly what's been overlooked, jump into one of these free calls. They're deep, they're intuitive, and they're game-changing. The only way you can access this is if you actually personally message me. You can do it on your favorite platform, IG, TikTok, or at my personal email, monica@findingfertility.co. Not .com, because they wanted $3,000 for the M, with just one word. And that word is dreams, obviously, DREAMS. And I'll make sure you get that link right away. Remember, this transformation happens when you stay committed to yourself. Trust your body, follow your intuition, make it possible. The links that you need are down below. And if you are still here and you absolutely love this podcast, please take some time and leave me a review and help other women like you find this podcast to get the support they need. Help a sister out. Leave a review today.